Proud Boys trial disrupted after defense says its witness was paid FBI informant. Paid FBI informant. Okay, so here we go. We've got prosecutors in the trial of the Proud Boys conceded Thursday. They conceded on Thursday. It should have been disclosed from the beginning, but they just conceded on Thursday that a witness to be called by the defense had previously been paid by the FBI as a confidential informant against members of the far-right group in the months before 5 of its members were to be tried for seditious conspiracy. Oh, big fucking shock. If you are not watching what the government is doing to the right, what the government is doing to the right, and hey, lefties out there who think it's funny, at some point, we'll win again. And it's your fucking asses on the chopping block. You need to be united against tyranny with us. Even though you may disagree with us, you need to be united against tyranny with us. Because tyranny comes for that ass. No matter if you're left, right, center, capitalist, socialist, communist, Nazi, Proud Boy, bigot, KKK member, Black Lives Matter. It doesn't care. Tyranny comes for that ass. It is non-binary. It is pansexual, and it is rapacious.
When the National Archive puts government documents up on the web, one has to confront them.
Anybody who was to the left of mainstream in civil rights was deemed a subversive.
This country is at war with itself. Vietnam, the oppression of black people in America. They've tapped our phones. They're listening. I can hear these little clicks on the line. I think it's the government.
Seabird, you gotta stop. They will destroy you, your reputation, your career, your family.
We also learned more today about the FBI's secret files on Marilyn Monroe. They reveal some of her friends were suspected communists, and she once considered traveling to the Soviet Union. The FBI kept files on her from 1955 until her death in 1962.
According to court documents filed late Wednesday by defendant Zachary Rell, between April 2022 and January 2023, the unnamed female FBI informant, oh, it's always a woman, isn't it? He says, you want to have a No Girls Allowed club? That's a good reason. Was, quote, in contact via telephone, text messaging, and other electronic means with one or more of the counsel for the defense and at least one defendant. The good news is that the FBI probably now has pictures of all of the defendants' penises and their lawyers' penises, is my guess. Prosecutors say the FBI ended its relationship with the informant upon learning in January that she might be called as a defense witness. Bullshit. Bullshit. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. No one fucking believes you. In order to ensure she did not provide information about the case to the government and violate any defendant's attorney-client privilege. Bullshit, 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 bullshit. Oh. I'm calling Robert Gouveia.
If it's something weird and it don't look good, who you gonna call?
Robert Gouveia. I'm going to try and get him on next week. We got to talk about this. That's the guy. By the way, if you want to know the guy who's covering this shit, the smartest guy in the fucking room on all this stuff, Robert Gouveia. Watching the Watchers. The guy's plugged into these issues. He has a proper attitude towards the government. He's smart. He doesn't have as many dick jokes as I do, which makes him more respectable. Robert Gouveia is a fucking hero, and you should check out his channel. You should definitely do that. Watching the Watchers, Robert Gouveia. I'm gonna bring him on because I know he's way more plugged into this. I'm just getting into this, and I can't fucking stand it. So maybe I can get him on next week.
Proud Boys trial, day 44 continues. We have a lot of questions about confidential human sources or FBI informants. And one of them in particular is now speaking to the press. Her name is Jen Lowe. The FBI informant named Jen speaks with CNN about her role in the Proud Boys trial. It says, over the past year, a Texas woman named Jen Lowe has been in touch, they say, been in touch, okay, with several Proud Boys now on trial for a seditious conspiracy. Talking with members of the far-right group and their defense counsel about the case, suggesting possible witnesses and attorneys who could help. An FBI informant has been in touch with attorneys and possible witnesses. She was a paid FBI informant. That revelation threw a little wrench into the ongoing trial. No kidding. Lowe, previously a member of Latinos for Trump, participated in Proud Boys text chats, had extensive communications with one of the defendants in prison, suggesting witnesses, suggesting attorneys, speaking with defendants in prison. She also suggested starting prayer groups with defendants' family members, according to defense counsel. She was also in touch with some of the defense lawyers in the case, making what one of them, Nicholas Smith, called a, quote, constant drumbeat of detailed inquiries, which Mr. Smith said he had ignored. Carmen Hernandez, another defense lawyer working on the case, described Ms. Lowe as has been doing a, quote, surreptitious invasion from a defense lawyer. Two of them have said this now, of the Proud Boys defense team. Prosecutors have insisted that they never asked Ms. Lowe. We never asked her. I mean, I don't know what she gave us. She just brought the briefcases in. She just brought the video recordings and the audio files. We never asked her for those. Whose real name is Jenlyn Salinas. They never asked her to cozy up to the defendants, their relatives, or their lawyers. In fact, they said in court papers filed on Thursday, they cut ties with her 2 months ago after learning that she planned to appear in the trial that they had already been preparing. All right. This trial has been going on for years. The physical trial has not, but the pretrial proceedings have. So the government had a mole called Jen Lowe, called Jenlyn Salinas, who was hanging out, cozying up to the defendants, their lawyers, meeting with them, starting prayer groups and all sorts of stuff, all the way up to it. And then right when trial looks like it's going to happen, the government goes, uh-oh, oof, yikes. Maybe we should cut ties with her. And they didn't even tell the defense at that time. They just told the defense when they said, we're going to call her tomorrow. In an interview on Friday, Ms. Lowe said that she had never spied on the Proud Boys or their lawyers. Yeah, okay. And said that the FBI never asked her any questions directly related to the trial that's now unfolding in federal district court. Oh, good. All right. That's it. That settles everything. That's great. She says she promises, so she never spied on them. Yeah. And she's obviously got a long record of, well, she's got a pretty clear record of being an informant and not disclosing that. So we'll use that to our credibility bank. Ms. Lowe maintained that while she provided the government information about some of the defendants before the trial began, do you see? It's in the same article. It's just like they never asked. Okay, so who cares? She still gave it to them. That she still provided the government with some information about him. So they were still getting it. It's technical nonsense. Her interest in the families and their legal situations was genuine. She says this is amazing. It's hard to see people calling me a rat and a fed and things like that. I think it's sad that we've gotten so polarized in this country. What? So a literal confirmed FBI informant, aka a fed, is upset that people are calling her a fed. calls it polarized. Yeah, this country is really polarized. I can't believe it. It's really a sad thing that we don't accept FBI informants in our lives. We should just accept them and come spy on us and whatever. I can't believe you're calling me a rat. I can't believe you're calling me a Fed. Are you a Fed? Well, yeah. Did you get paid by the feds? Yeah. Did you give them FBI about the defendants? Yeah. Did you join and talk to their lawyers? Yeah. Did you show up at their offices in Miami? Yeah. Did you?
And I got news for you. That means you.
Then you're a Fed. Sorry. That's your doing. Defense lawyer said there are more informants than there are defendants. It's disgusting, and they're being prosecuted for this. That's where we left off. Now, don't we think that's relevant? Isn't that interesting to know if you're a juror and you're charging 5 defendants with conspiracy if there are not other people there who were a part of the conspiracy who aren't aware of the conspiracy? The government said that they want to show this stuff, and so we're going to go ahead and admit it. I do think it is relevant, so we are going to allow it in. So win for the government, of course. Why not? Monday morning. First one, government, you want a video in? What do you need it for? Bias? Perfect. It's coming in. Great. He says, second, I know you're getting ready to call this Jen Lowe, this FBI informant that was kind of explosive last week. She came and visited your office and all this stuff. Wow. He says, I've been thinking a lot about this over the weekend, and when it comes down to Jen, I just think that nothing about her relationship with the FBI is relevant in this trial. What? You say what, Judge? Wait a minute. You're talking about Jen Lowe, the same informant who was hanging out with these guys all throughout these years, who was close with their families, who could provide information about the conspiracy that the government is alleging, who would have had intent or would have had a direct path to the government to share anything that was concerning, right? She could have shared with them. They're going to steal the country, man. They're going to steal the Capitol. She could have communicated that to her handlers. We can't ask her about that at all. It's not relevant. Nothing about that is relevant. It's also maybe a due process problem. She was influencing the conversation with the attorneys. She was trying to set prayer meetings, doing fundraising. But nothing about her years with the FBI is relevant. Judge says, I'm feeling pretty good about this decision too. I'm going to exclude it. So you can call your witness, but you can't ask about the FBI at all. This whole status as an informant, not even relevant. He excludes it, even though it's a critical part of your defense. Of course. Now, why is the judge doing this? Well, the judge is pretty much dug in at this point. We're in the middle of a trial. He definitely does not want this train to come off the tracks. And if it does, well, then he just kept 5 people who have been spied on by the FBI with FBI informants in attorney meetings, has been, these people have been housed in subpar conditions. One of them at least has no violent crimes at all. He's been held in custody. This seditious conspiracy thing would evaporate overnight if this train goes off the track. And he's not going to allow that to happen. He says she wasn't reporting on Proud Boys. And that's not true at all, as we saw from this article. She actually said that specifically. Says that while Lowe maintained that while she provided the government information about some of the defendants before the trial began, her interest was still genuine. So that's just not accurate, right? She actually did give them information, according to the New York Times. Now, this judge has already made his decision. We didn't get an evidentiary hearing. We didn't get the government to give us the full file. What does the informant file say? What did she give you? You say you didn't ask for it. You say you didn't task her to do it. But what did she get you regardless? The judge says, no, she wasn't reporting on the Proud Boys. Yes, she was. So he just parlays that and he says, Therefore, there's no good faith basis to ask her questions suggesting any impropriety by the FBI. You don't think an FBI informant in your attorney meetings with you and your client, I think that is improper. I think it's unethical. I think it's reprehensible. Carmen Hernandez is back. Says, Your Honor, I am objecting to what you said about this confidential human source. We want to be able to talk about her status as an FBI informant, and I'm objecting to your ruling and so on. Defense attorney Tario, or for Tario, Jaraguay stands up and he says, yeah, you know what? Now, Judge, now that you made that ruling, that I can't ask her anything about anything that I wanted to ask her about, her only utility as a witness, you just shattered, thanks. Says we're not even going to call her today. So thanks, I guess. Can she be released from her subpoena? Says we're not calling her at all. What's the point? Judge says, yeah, sure. You don't. Perfect. That's great. I don't want to hear from her either because she's an FBI informant. She would wreck my case. Exactly what I wanted. You're free to go, man.
Rel and 4 members of the Proud Boys, including leader Enrique Tarrio, are currently on trial for attempting to use force to prevent the peaceful transfer of power from former President Donald Trump to President Joe Biden during the January 6th Capitol riot. All of them have pleaded not guilty. The lunacy of this charge, is, again, what ended up happening on January 6th was a strategic or tactical error on the part of the right, in my opinion. I said this back when it happened. It gave the left all of the ammunition it would need for a decade. But it happened. It's done. What it wasn't, as far as I could tell, was any coherent plot to actually stop a presidential election, a presidential inauguration from occurring. They had no plan, as far as anyone can tell, that makes any sense on how they would have stopped the transfer of power, on how that would have happened, which didn't happen on January 6th anyway. And if it didn't happen on January 6th, if it was delayed, it would be till January 7th, in which case Congress would reconvene and just finish. And it wouldn't be the first time in history that there was a delay, and it wouldn't be the end of the world. It would likely be settled within a day or two. Even if they had armed takeover of the Capitol building, it would be still hard to prevent this from happening in its ordinary course of business. And they certainly didn't have that, nor did they seem to have any plan of that.
And the defense attorney says not a single informant told the government that there was a plan, not one of them. Now, this is such an important point. We're going to see that the judge ultimately keeps this informant out of the trial, or keeps the important parts of this informant out of the trial. The reason why this is so critical is they're saying there was a conspiracy. The government is alleging, that's one of the charges, conspiracy. If there was a conspiracy, wouldn't that be corroborated by all of the CHSs, all of the informants who were also there? None of them have said that to corroborate it. And we haven't been able to ask them anything about this because the judge has not been allowing them to testify. Why is that? Not a single person that the Proud Boys planned to storm the Capitol. At some point, one of the defense lawyers, as we talked about here, said, I'm not an informant, because it's such a joke.
Venray says, maybe I'm misunderstanding. Wouldn't the government not turning over relevant, potentially exculpatory information to the defense be a Brady violation? Yes. Nailed it. Nailed it. But this judge is just going to let it go. Don't worry, they can fight it on appeal.